Hey, this is Andy from Long Island Mopars. Figured I'd try a little something different for the channel today. We'll go back in time and tell you a story about the second car I ever had, a 1977 Plymouth Volare. As you can see from this photo here, parked on my parents' street in Flushing, Queens, New York, sometime around 1981 or 82. We bought this car used. It was 4 years old at the time. Silver, black interior, 225, Super 6. So it had the Carter 2 barrel on it. That's how we got it. I believe when we bought it, the grill was broken, and we bought a brand new one at Bayside Chrysler Plymouth in Bayside, New York. I don't remember the miles on this car at the time. 4 years old, it probably had 60 or 70,000. The reason why I say that is my dad bought it from an employee that worked at his job that used that car as what I think they called a mail runner. So it had a lot of miles on it for a short period of time that it was owned. It was banged up. Some of the other photos will illustrate that in a second. Of course, I always had to take a picture of it with the hood up. Not much to see here, though, except for that really nice grill. Even our cat approved of the Volare. You can see here the front fenders were in primer. They're dented. The driver's door is dented. These cars, if anyone remembers, in 76 and I guess 77, were recalled because the fenders rotted out very quickly. So when we bought this car, it already had the replacement fenders on it. Of course, they were in primer. Chrysler didn't paint them. I guess you had to have the dealer paint them. And for whatever reason, it's just another shot of the car in Queens, New York. This is one of our many blizzards that we had. That thing is probably wearing snow tires on the rear. Okay, so here we are sometime in the mid 1980s, and we were on our way to Virginia Beach. Still has the primered fenders on the front. For some reason, we've got a 1965 Plymouth Belvedere wheel cover on the right rear. Of course, here the Volare is parked outside of a motel somewhere down in Virginia, I think. I forget where we stayed. Of course, here's Pop checking the fluids on the Volare. This was probably its first long distance trip that it made. And this was our first car with air conditioning. Another picture of it sitting outside Virginia Beach. My mom loved the ocean, so any chance we had to go anywhere where there was water, that's where she'd want to go. If you look real carefully, that's your narrator here sitting on the front fender of what was going to be eventually his car. Looking all tough. Not. Okay, so now we're in the Poconos. And Dad liked to take the Volare everywhere he could, give his 66 Coronet a break. But what's in front of that Volare is my Uncle George's 74 Dodge Monaco with a 400 and a 4-barrel. I remember the hood being up on it because it sprung a radiator leak, and I believe they were soldering the tank on the radiator to plug it. Here's another shot of the Monaco next to the Volare. I think it rained because the cars look really good. My Uncle George is in the white t-shirt. That's my aunt walking their dog in front of the Dodge, and that's my dad to the right with his pride and joy Volare with a really clean white wall. This was the Knight Rider era, and I felt like making those taillights look like a Trans Am, so I took black electrical tape, cut it with a razor blade, and ran strips of it through the taillights, and then I went around the taillight surrounds. I wound up painting the bumper filler black, front and back. Here's what she looked like all dolled up. So at this point, I'm driving her. I painted the front fenders. That's rattle can silver. The wheel covers are off a 79 Mercury Marquis. I picked up 4 of them in the junkyard. And A little touch-up work, nothing major. She wasn't perfect. She was just good enough. She had a black shag seat cover from J.C. Whitney, and only in the front, and I didn't bother putting anything in the back. Put a bunch of Little Tree air fresheners in it, put a 100-watt stereo in it with a couple of 6x9 speakers, and you're out cruising in style in your Volare. Not. That's just another good pic of it. She looked good. And there's a pic of her with my 64 Valiant convertible. This was during the craze when Garfield stick-on stuffed toys were a big deal, and of course when your girlfriend buys you one, you gotta put it in your car window. Alright, so now we get into the point where the Volare met its end. I was coming home from my night job. I was in a left lane on the service road at the Long Island Expressway. I was coming across an intersection. This Camaro's in the middle lane. He's just ahead of me. All of a sudden, no signal, no warning. He just decides to turn left as I'm passing him. So he never even saw me. So as I'm passing him, he just turns that wheel into me and punched in the right front fender. I go across the intersection and I wind up straddling a curb. And the curb catches the left rear wheel and breaks the axle right at the axle housing, pulls the front spring mount out, and sends the axle into the gas tank, which ruptures. Now the car slaps the guardrail on the driver's side and goes down for about a couple of 100 feet till it comes off the rail, except that the rear end now is at like a 45-degree angle, and the car whips right around and goes backwards into the guardrail, and it finally comes to a rest. The driver's side window's all smashed out. I wind up doing my best NASCAR driver impersonation after a wreck and crawl out of the window because I wasn't thinking that I could just slid across the seat and went out the passenger door. Got a flatbread to bring that thing home. My father had them drop it right in front of the house. This is probably 11 o'clock at night, well, maybe 11:30. All the neighbors come out the next morning. They're like, "Oh my God, is he dead?" I'm like, really? Is he? Would I put the car in front of the house if he's my poor father? But it still ran. We bottle fed it with gas. He used the winch and pulled the rear end housing towards where it was ripped out of the front spring perch, and that thing crab walked into the driveway eventually. I don't have any more pictures of it. And we stripped it for parts. We pulled the engine. My punishment for wrecking a Volare was to find another Volare. That'll be a story for another episode. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments. Hope this was fun, and we'll see you all in the next video. Take care.